Maggie J. And these are my stories.
Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me. The sight of the woman lying on the ground instantly put Lewis in a bad mood, and yet his day had started so well. He had slept late, ran 10 kilometers, had a refreshing cold shower, and then a healthy, protein-rich breakfast. Dressed in his best suit, he had left the house, his briefcase with the USB stick containing his presentation confidently in his hand, his coffee mug in the other. Of course, the stick was just a backup. The presentation that was to be the next step in his career was safe in the cloud. He wasn't stupid. He had also sent it to himself by email. That might seem like an exaggeration, but today was the day, and nothing, absolutely nothing could go wrong. There could still be enough unplanned difficulties, things he couldn't foresee, technical problems with the projector in the office, someone being late, or anything else that seemed trivial, all things that could be solved. But his presentation was rock solid. He knew it inside out, had been preparing for it for weeks, and today was the day that would decide his long-awaited promotion. And then something like this got in the way. He had expected many things, but not this. He could see straight away that she was dead. How could he not have recognized it, with all the blood and the wide, staring eyes that looked into the nothingness that now also reigned inside her? Louis wrinkled his nose. She looked, yes, he couldn't put it any other way, shabby. She lay there like a carelessly discarded bag of garbage. He hoped that he would look better when he died. The dress pushed up over her hips without underpants. Her right arm was twisted at an angle that didn't look healthy and would certainly have cost her many months of painful physiotherapy. How lucky for her that she didn't have to go through that. Her face was covered in crusted blood. Too bad, she was actually quite pretty. He looked around. He still had plenty of time to get to the office, but he had decided to take a shorter route to the office this morning, which was something he now regretted. After all, it wasn't that much shorter to walk through the side alley behind the laundrette. It saved him 2 minutes at most. 2 minutes that it had already taken him to stand here and look at the lifeless woman. How long had she been dead? And what had happened to her? You idiot, it's obvious. A voice inside him spoke up. Louis shook his head, annoyed with himself. Of course it was clear what had happened to her. Pull yourself together, he admonished himself. Today, on this important day, he couldn't afford not to be on top of things. He took a sip of his coffee and thought about what he should do now. What he could do. Were there cameras at the laundromat? Or at the stores opposite or next door? No. Just the other day, he had read a report in which the citizens complained about the lack of security measures in their town. The street that led to the side street where he was now standing was known for not being particularly safe, which was probably why the woman hadn't had such a great evening there yesterday. Well, bad for her, good for Louis. If a camera had caught him entering and then leaving the alley, it could have gotten him into trouble, and he didn't need that right now. Especially today, the dead woman in front of him was very, very inconvenient. If he called the police, it would take forever for someone to come, and then he wouldn't be able to leave so easily. It wasn't as if he was dropping something off at the post office. Here you are, have a nice day. No, he would have to stay there for hours, maybe even go to the police station and tell them over and over again how he had found the woman. And for what? It wouldn't help in any way to find the perpetrator. He could do nothing, absolutely nothing, to help solve this murder. And even if it was quick and he only had to leave his contact details with the officers and then leave, it would seem disrespectful to just disappear, wouldn't it? What would the police think? He had to look worried or at least taken aback. It was unthinkable that word would get around the office that he had found a body and then simply held his presentation as if nothing had happened. Suzanne, the stupid cow who was also after the promotion, would exploit this as much as she could. He's so heartless. Can he be trusted? Is he the right person for the job? These and similar comments would come. He was sure of that, and it couldn't happen. He couldn't lose everything now because of something like that. The woman was already dead. There was nothing he could do about it. He couldn't let this ruin his career. The thought was understandable, wasn't it? The next person who found the woman would call the police and start the search for the perpetrator. The blood on the woman's face had already dried. That meant she had been dead for a while. The few minutes more or less it would take for the next person to find her wouldn't make any difference now. The murderer was long gone anyway. Lewis nodded with satisfaction. Yes, there was nothing he could do, and nobody could want this event, this nuisance, to ruin his day. Certainly not the dead woman either. She would certainly understand. He turned around and looked in all directions. The streets were empty. It was still far too early in the morning. His hunch was right, too. There were no video cameras anywhere. That was going well for him. Whistling happily, he left the alley in the direction of the office. He wasn't going to take any shortcuts now, that was for sure. Today was going to be a wonderful day, at least for him.
If you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel for a new story every week.